people who are claiming to represent the hacktivist collective Anonymous say they've identified more than 100,000 Twitter accounts associated with the terrorist group Daesh, also known as ISIS, and that more than 6,000 of the accounts have been taken down by Twitter. The action against the terrorist group is being promoted on Twitter using the #OpParis hashtag. Anonymous group members have also set up a database of known Daesh-related websites to crowdsource the identification of new Twitter accounts as they go up, and Daesh famously recruits heavily on Twitter, so this may actually have some kind of effect. Jared Keller is the deputy editor for Maxim and joins us now. Welcome to the show, Jared.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Now, before we proceed, I just want to say a little bit about why I say Daesh instead of ISIS. I read an article over the weekend that made the case very persuasively that we should all say Daesh instead of ISIS. ISIS means the Islamic State, or the IS in ISIS means the Islamic State, which is a claim being made by this terrorist group that they are, in fact, the new caliphate, that they are actually a legitimate country, which they are not. They're a terrorist group. And so to refer to them as the Islamic State is to kind of feed into their propaganda that they are this legitimate governmental organization instead of a terrorist group that's just going out slaughtering innocent people. Daesh is actually the actual acronym for the official name of the group in its Arabic name. So that's all it is. It's just an acronym. However, deliciously, it has the double meaning. It also means in Arabic to trample down or crush, and it also means a bigot who imposes his view on others. So when they created the name of their group, they didn't consider that the acronym was, in fact, an accurate insult for the group itself, kind of like when President Nixon named his committee the Committee to Re-elect the President, after which everybody called it CREEP. So they blew it. They named their group that leads to the acronym Daesh. They hate it. They've promised to cut the tongue out of anybody who utters the name Daesh or calls them Daesh, and therefore I'm calling them Daesh. You guys can call them whatever you want, but that's why I'm calling them Daesh. Anyway, Jared, what was their response to the anonymous threat?
There wasn't really a unified response from Daesh. Partially because this isn't the first time that Anonymous has vowed to wage war against the group. You'll recall that immediately following the Charlie Hebdo massacre in Paris back in January, Anonymous and hackers claiming to be affiliated with Anonymous conducted very similar attacks to disrupt Daesh-related social media accounts and websites. My sense is that Daesh probably has a little bit more to focus on right now, considering that French and Russian jets are currently pounding strategic locations throughout Syria. So the fact that you haven't really heard anything from Daesh, I wouldn't read into that too much.
Okay, Jared, in terms of the success of the previous campaign, it does seem as though they've been playing whack-a-mole a bit. If Twitter shuts down accounts, more pop up. I mean, at what point what firm steps can be taken to actually shutting this down?
That's sort of the biggest question with regarding any sort of anonymous campaign, especially because, as we've seen in the past, often anonymous efforts to take down undesirable organizations, their recent promise to unmask members of the KKK in the United States have been uneven and, as you said, sort of the equivalent of whack-a-mole. Ostensibly the idea is to disrupt the very digital space where Daesh does a significant amount of their recruiting. They are by far the most sophisticated terrorist organization on the planet with regards to how they try to recruit and radicalize potential militants in Western countries. So it's not. Time will tell exactly how efficient it is. We're in the early stages of Anonymous's kind of cyber assault on the group, and it's really a question of how long that assault will last.
One would hope, I would hope, that various intelligence organizations, trolls, activists and others have set up fake Daesh accounts on Twitter. And so one of the things I like about this taking down of real Daesh-related Twitter accounts is that it alters the balance between the real ones and the fake ones. We want people who are actually looking to be recruited or looking to be persuaded by this organization to actually be interacting with anti-Daesh people as opposed to pro-Daesh people. That would make the world a slightly better place. Now, Anonymous is not the only group that's going after them on social media. There's also an organization called the Ghost Security Group. What is the Ghost Security Group, Jared, and what are they doing?
So Ghost Security bills itself as sort of a crowdsourced counterterrorism volunteer group. The best reporting on them right now is by Will Turton, who's a very young, brilliant reporter at the Daily Dot who's forged inroads with all these hacker collectives. He really knows them inside and out. But compared to Anonymous, Security has been a little bit more meticulous. Rather than just, as you said, playing whack-a-mole with these accounts, they'll gather information and infiltrate these accounts, and then through an intermediary, an intelligence analysis group, they'll actually feed this information to law enforcement officials. So it's kind of ironic. You see, hacktivist groups and law enforcement officials who have traditionally not been the biggest fans of each other, actually collaborating and cooperating, even in the most peaceful of senses, in retribution for this horrific attack on Paris.
It does seem as though this has really got Anonymous fired up, but they've been fired up before. How seriously do you think law enforcement are going to take this? And do you think there is going to be a proper working relationship between the two groups, or is it going to stay rather more informal?
I think a working relationship, I think that sort of sense of a relationship would be a stretch. I think, Anonymous released a message earlier today that basically advised global governments to step aside and let them do their work. And, it's as I mentioned, because of the unevenness of past Anonymous campaigns, it's difficult to buy into this and say, oh, well, we should step aside and let these hacktivists take a role. But I think the relationship between Ghost Security on spending, though it's still is kind of the most credible technological goal to contemporary counterterrorism efforts. And I think working relationships.
We're having some, I'm sorry, Jared, we're having some Skype issues, just as it appeared we would have when we started the show. Sometimes Skype is with us and sometimes it's against us. But before I let you go, I just wanted to make the point that it's one of the interesting things about the Paris attacks is that it comes after a quick succession of other attacks that have essentially united the world in a very big way against Daesh. The Russians are now admitting that the airliner that crashed was blown out of the sky by a bomb, and Daesh is taking responsibility for that. A couple of days before the Paris bombings, they attacked Beirut. Of course, they consider all Shiite Muslims to be apostates, and so Iran and other Shiite governments and people are going after them. The United States, which had been bombing in a specific type of way, has stepped it up. And one of the things that's happening is the U.S. is now taking out all the oil and gasoline that's being transported within Iraq, which is a source of revenue. So, and those are just a few examples, but everybody's turning up their anti-Daesh activities to 11 now, and so it's going to be super difficult for them increasingly, and they've made the strategic error of thinking that they don't need allies because they have none, and they've united the world against them. So it's I think that things are going to get very, very difficult for them, and I'm very happy to see it. Jared Keller is at Maxim.com, and you can find him on Twitter at Jared B. Keller. Jared, if you can still talk through Skype, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you again for having me, and have a lovely day.